let's do some unpopular opinions. I'm going to read out some cycling hot takes. We'll debate them and decide if we agree or disagree. First one is from James, who says, unpopular opinion, life is too short to clean your daily ride budget winter bike more often than once a month.
Yes.
You agree?
I categorically agree with it.
Yeah. I used to be completely the other way, but it was because I was riding a relatively nice racing road bike through winter, and now I've switched to the Tri-Ban 10 speed. So the parts are going to be relatively cheap to replace at the end of winter, and life's too short. I now don't bring it into the house anymore. I'm very privileged to have a garage space where I can take my bike and it can stay muddy inside there. I do, however, give it a quick wipe and lube the chain every now and then.
So what I do is I will just hose the mud off.
Yep.
And then the annoying thing about that, well, it is a bit annoying, is you hose it down and you go like, yeah, I've nailed this. And then it dries and then you see the bike an hour later and you're like, oh no, that's still caked in mud. It'll be fine.
See, I would see both of those, giving it a little wipe or giving it a little hose, is kind of still like clean.
Do you think the hose
it
tricks you? The hose, you while it's wet, it looks really good.
Yeah.
And then it dries and you're like, I did a really bad job, but it looks so good when you first do it.
Yeah.
It's a trick.
It's why when if you ever buy a car, never buy a wet car. Because they wash cars down so they look great and you don't see all
Just
of the...
constantly wet. The
all
sprinklers
of
are
the
always on them.
Yeah.
This is, my technique is a perfect example of buying back your own time. So for the small expense of having to replace the drivetrain, but probably not.
The drivetrain?
Yeah.
That small expense of £1,000 to replace the drivetrain.
On the Tri-Ban? Absolutely not. The whole group set is worth £200.
What bike did you ride in today?
No comment.
That bike gets clean. I'm only riding that. I'm only riding that because the Tri-Ban is not rideable at the moment. And that wasn't me. That was you guys.
The drivetrain's full of junk.
No,
from
it's
the
been
road.
absolutely cannibalized by Nick and Jimmy. They just do things while I was away doing my work. You were here working, which means taking parts off bikes as a little joke. Like, let's remove this one screw from the rear mech so your whole bike doesn't work. So thanks.
What?
It's in there.
This is Nick then.
You do. And then I ask you
Which
what you've
Tri-Ban
done,
you on about?
and you don't know.
I don't even know what Tri-Ban you on about.
You've got the memory of a goldfish. Where's my, like, there's a perfectly good video with Dura Ace right there.
Do you really want to do this?
Yeah.
Do you want to do this on the podcast?
Yeah.
Okay, he wants to do it.
Where is my Dura Ace?
Okay, so yesterday, Francis says to me, why is this bike stripped? I'm like, it'll be something you've done. He's like, nah, I've definitely not done this. I'm like, right, well, look back at the videos. He started looking back. I'm like, bear in mind, I was like, last time we actually made videos was October. I was like, go back, look at the videos. And you were like, oh yeah, we built it up with Campag, didn't we? I'm like, well, there we go then. It's got nothing to do with me.
Where's my Dura Ace?
Where you would have left the bike, which is at Backyard Bike Shop.
Where's the black Scott foil?
Where you left it at Backyard Bike Shop.
I didn't leave it anywhere. I haven't touched it. It was there. It was here. I was like, oh, I'm going to build that up with some
Just
stuff and then I'm going to ride it.
Just because the last time you were working here was October, that's not my problem.
I stand by my point of view. Take little things off bikes just so they're not rideable. There's bikes and bikes everywhere, but not one to ride.
Yeah.
Well, getting back onto the topic, I am surprised by both of your opinions that life's too short to clean your bikes, because especially before Christmas, we did a lot of podcasts with Nick, and I feel like we were real advocates for cleaning your bike after your rides to stop your
Depends
shit
on the price of the bike.
Okay.
I also think it's when I say clean a bike, what I essentially do is I hose it down and then maybe dry it, depending what mood I'm in or if there's a rag around. It literally takes 3 minutes. I'm not washing it. I'm not making any kind of effort to like degrease it or get into bits. And then probably at some point later down the line, I'll do something more significant with it to actually clean it up. So for example, my howler is an absolute state. It's got to the point that really it needs new sealant in it and a bit of like tuning up. So it's at the point where I'm like, right, I'll give it a proper wash and then drop it into Nick to give it a little tune up. Whereas the interim clean will just be a hose down.
If enduro bearings are really as good as Nick says they are,
Yep.
right? I don't have any on my bikes at all.
I'm assuming you're referring to like their top end.
Yeah, so the top end bearing, based on the fact that bearing is pretty much indestructible. You could pressure wash that thing.
It's got a lifetime guarantee, I believe.
Lifetime guarantee. Okay, but you still have to replace it then. Is there a point where technology gets so good that bearings like that are so cheap. Everyone's bearings are like that, and you just never have to replace them, because that's the one thing stopping me from pressure washing my bike, because that would be the ultimate solution.
But you can pressure washer a bike as long as you
I
don't...
want to aim right at the bearings.
Why?
Because I'm lazy and not with no attention to detail. I just want to...
Yeah, but you can't over the bearings. You just don't want to get the pressure washer right in. Otherwise,
they still wear out. With enough, if you do it like every day.
I also think there's no incentive for companies to make that product available to everyone, because the point of it is it has longevity in it. You're paying a lot, but you're paying once. Whereas it's like creating the obsoleteness in it. If you sell people something that needs to be replaced all the time, you always have customers, don't you? And you have a reason to have a premium product if the bottom line product isn't as good. So I think from a company point of view, they wouldn't want to do it.
So my opinion is the minimum standard bearings that anyone should buy are stainless steel bearings, because stainless steel, as far as I'm aware, doesn't corrode and rust. But they will still need to be lubricated and serviced, otherwise they will wear down. They obviously will still wear down, but they will last ages typically and be able to handle lots of rubbish weather. And they're not expensive. This is the thing. Stainless steel bearings are not expensive. Why isn't everything stainless steel as standard? I think you can still get wheels that are cup and cone.
You can. In fact, Shimano made some gravel wheels, like the GRX gravel wheels with cup and cone bearings.
Oh, I've got them.
Nice ones. Have you worn them out yet?
I haven't actually. They've been doing all right.
Yeah, it was a weird choice, but it's like a high quality.
Obviously, it's very serviceable.
Yeah.
But that's effort.
Yes.
What we want is something that never needs servicing ever.
That's the goal, yeah. A sealed system. That's why drivetrains need to go inside.
One of those oil things.
What?
You can get those like planetary. It's not even a planetary gear. There's like a system which is like this big block of something which has gears in it, and it's suspended in oil.
Unobtainium.
So I think it. No, maybe it does. I think you need to change the oil like every 200,000 miles or something. It's something like that. Something obscene.
Uh-oh.
Oh,
Ruined it.
Here we
Start
go.
again. Ruined
Amateur
the
hour
podcast.
over here. He's got his phone alarm's gone off.
It's my alarm.
Why is your alarm set for 12 o'clock?
To remind me to do headshots, because the podcast would definitely be over by 12 o'clock.
It's on the end of the notes. You don't need to worry.
Let's get on with the show. Someone please make a bike with everything inside that never been servicing. Thank you.
Yeah. And also we agree with James's unpopular opinion. Next one is from Steve, who says, unpopular opinion, I think that in order to buy a non-pedal assisted e-bike, a valid driver's license should be required. While there are plenty of responsible e-bike riders out there, I have seen far too many people ride in a reckless manner that puts themselves, cars, pedestrians and other cyclists at risk. I think part of the problem is that people think e-bikes are normal bikes, but in reality they perform more like electric cars or scooters. While I'm not in favour of cyclists needing bike insurance, I think this would be a way to make sure that people understand an e-bike before a purchase. People with a disability should not have to pay any testing fee, since an e-bike might be the only practical way for them to ride a bike. Ends. Sorry, there was writing underneath it, but that's not for me.
As I was driving home from work yesterday, I saw youths is probably the most PC way of describing them.
It's an old man way of describing it.
All right, chavs. How about, is that better? On electric scrambler style off-road bikes riding up a hill at incredible speed. And I'll be honest, I saw him, I was like, I want one of those bikes so bad. It's so
100%.
good.
So my understanding was that non-pedal assisted e-bikes do require a driving license, so like a CVT.
No, they're illegal in this country because they would have to be fully registered as motor vehicles.
But not with a driving license.
No, it would be a motor vehicle and they need a driving license. But I think the problem is they're not road legal.
So it would have to be MOT'd.
Yeah.
It would have to pass an MOT. It would have to be insured. It would have to be taxed.
I'm assuming it's different in the States, only based on when we were in New York, the amount of non-pedal assisted e-bikes.
Everywhere, yeah.
Everywhere. And in the bike lanes, it was interesting. I feel like someone messaged and said, I'd like to know your opinion on the e-scooters around New York since you've been there.
Because they actually look like moped, like proper motorbike scooters,
Yeah.
but they're fully electric.
Yeah.
And we were going over Brooklyn Bridge on bikes in the bike lane, And then there was one coming towards us, and I instantly went into London mode. I was like, "Oh, right, great, we're getting our bikes pinched here." And he just casually rode past. I was like, "Oh, right, that wasn't actually a motorbike."
And the speed limit there is extremely high, and it changes state to state, but most of those are legal.
Right.
So if you buy, even from the big brands, so Scott, which we've ridden, there's Scott make a Solace gravel bike, which is their electric gravel bike, and it has a medium power motor inside, and in the UK it's limited to 24 kilometers an hour. If you buy exactly the same bike in the States, the limit is like 40k an hour or even higher.
Wow, so fast.
So you're so fast. But in actual fact, it makes it a much more practical and enticing purchase. I would look at buying one of those to get around. Like, that's awesome. Whereas here, it's not fast enough.
The legislation here is very frustrating. It doesn't allow us to have an e-bike that's good enough to get to cover life, especially when it's hilly. When it's flat, it's not so much an issue.
I understand why, though. I think that it feels like a weird loophole to have an e-bike that is essentially an e-scooter and not have to have a driving license or any kind of insurance or whatever it is with it. And I think I don't think that'll last forever. I think that loophole will be closed.
I think there's two issues here. I actually think that it's a policing issue rather than a legislation issue. These bikes should be confiscated if they are illegal, and they should be stopping people from using them if they are illegal, rather than saying, right, okay, everyone should have a driving license. I think the problem with the driving license concept or idea is, if I was to base someone on an e-bike with a driving license based on their ability to drive a car whilst I am cycling, then it doesn't make them any better than someone which doesn't have a driving license. People on those kind of vehicles on roads are idiots, and they are fun to ride, and you want to have fun on them.
There's probably a lot of people riding those around that do have licenses anyway.
Oh yeah,
and they still ride
absolutely.
them recklessly, or they're riding them in the wrong place. Because I don't want, as a cyclist, or if I'm walking on the trails that I ride very sensibly to and from my house in the morning, there's loads of dog walkers. Like, you don't want an e-bike blasting past at 40k an hour. But that is happening. Like, there's guys doing Deliveroo, absolutely, like, getting KOMs at the same time.
Yeah, it does. It feels like it's a bit of a mess at the minute. And the frustrating thing, I think, for us is we all see e-bikes as a really good solution for mobility. But because of the way they're currently being used, there's so much negativity around them that it's stopping this like change happening, which if it does happen, I can't wait. It'll
be cool. And I like that he's acknowledged about disability as well.
Yeah.
Because there's situations there where I think people with a disability should be allowed to be on the road and get around and with as much freedom as possible.
And it'd be safe.
And it'd be safe.
Yeah.
And not everyone can pedal. So.
And the last one is from Philippe, who says, unpopular opinion, Claris is good enough for most cyclists, and there is almost no reason for having a Dura Ace group set as an amateur cyclist.
Yep.
I feel like we've kind of had this one before about no one needs a fancy bike.
Yeah, it's want though, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's want, and because if you can.
I guess there is almost no reason. The reason would be because you want it. But I understand what he's saying. There's no need.
Niceness. Yeah, niceness.
I wouldn't even. Is it an unpopular opinion?
I found a reason. I thought of a reason. If your commute to work is down a 26% hill, and you want brakes that work extremely well,
there's not.
You can only get mechanical.
There's not a disc.
Although Claris is on the way out, it's just Q's now, isn't it? Which does have hydraulic versions.
We were actually talking about this yesterday, weren't we? We were, because we've got at least one rim brake bike at our disposal. No, 2 rim brake bikes at our disposal with Cade. And then when you just look at all of the bikes that are coming out now, we kind of don't need them available. We don't really need them anymore. It's always worth having one, I guess, as a backup in case we need to test something, but there's just no rim brake bikes anymore, is there?
I think I've delaminated my rear wheel. Carbon rim brakes.
And you can't replace it now because there's none available.
Well, it's just happened so quick. I only ride it to work and back.
Just convert it to disc. That's doable, isn't it?
Sadly not.
Do you have an unpopular cycling opinion? We want to hear it. Send yours to wildonespodcast@cademedia.co.uk and we might feature yours on the next episode.